Hi, Samantha. So we're just getting started with introductions. Everybody's not here, but we're going to start because we have a lot to do and we have a limited amount of time. So we're going to just start with check-ins. So your name and where you are and how you're feeling right now. So I'll start. So I'm Lou, and I'm in Northern California in the US, and I'm feeling excited and curious. Max.
Hey, I'm Max from Germany. I'm doing okay. Thanks.
Okay. Gregory.
Hi, I'm Greg, and I'm in New Mexico, northern New Mexico, and I feel all right, I guess. A little bit nervous, but that's been going on for a long time.
Aoife.
Hi, I'm Aoife in Northwest Ireland, and I'm feeling quite tired right now.
Okay. Katrina.
Hi, I'm Katrina from Bristol in the UK. I'm feeling, 2 words, not ready.
Okay. You mean for class today?
For facilitating, not ready.
Got it. Okay. Pavel.
My name is Pavel, and I'm in Malta, and I feel unprepared.
Also for class today or for facilitating generally?
For the class today.
Okay. Brian?
Everyone, Brian from Ottawa, Canada, and I'm feeling a little tension in my body, but looking forward to the training.
Samantha?
Hi, my name is Samantha. I live in New Jersey, and I'm also feeling a little scattered and unprepared for class today, but also curious and, anticipating it.
Okay. Anish, are you there?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
So we're checking in with your name and where you are and how you're feeling right now.
Thank you so much. I'm Manish. I'm feeling a bit rushed because I just arrived. And I'm also excited about what's going to happen in the next 1.5 hours. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. Dean, are you there yet? Just coming in.
Only just, but yes, I'm not all eager as usual.
Okay, I'll give you a second to settle in. Bill.
Hi, Bill Filler. I'm here in Northern California, and I'm glad that the big winds have stopped.
Okay, Edwin.
Edwin Ruch, San Francisco Bay Area, and feel kind of doing all the tech stuff here, so feel a little, busy with tech organizing, stuff like that.
Okay. Dean.
I'm Dean from Plymouth. I'm coping with a lot of little things. It's coming up close, but I'm really looking forward to this work.
Okay, you broke up quite a bit there, Dean, so I didn't catch much of what you said. Could you say it again?
I'm Dean from Plymouth. I'm caught up with a lot of little things that are going on at the moment.
Okay. You're frozen for me now.
Right. And somebody dropped out?
Did somebody drop out? Somebody drop off? So this is one of the things that happens in facilitating empathy circles. People have technical problems. And you have to be patient with it. Sometimes people drop in and out. Something you can do as a facilitator if people are freezing a lot, you can ask people to turn their video off, which lowers the amount of network bandwidth you need to keep a good connection. And so that can be a way to, because the audio, I mean, the visual is important too, but without the audio, there's no meaning at all. So, or very little. And so, people turn their videos off, that can help someone that's got a bad band connection. And I've done empathy circles where just the two people, the speaker and the listener, keep their video on so they can see each other's faces and stuff, but everyone else turns their video off. So that's a strategy to use. So I think we're waiting for Dean to come back on. So let me just lay out what we're going to be doing in class today. So today is the first day that you all are going to practice facilitating. And first we're going to practice doing an introduction to the empathy circle, which is something that the facilitator does. So, assuming you're forming a circle with people that haven't done it before, or even people who have done it before, it's always good to kind of reiterate what the empathy circle is and how it works, the mechanics of it. And then also to say what you will be doing as facilitator. So in addition to describing kind of the mechanics of taking turns and listening and all that, to say, and in my role as facilitator, I might do the following things during the circle. I'll be keeping time. I might be intervening if somebody's not hearing someone. I might be intervening if somebody stops listening and is commenting or doing things other than reflecting back, or other whatever other interventions you might be doing as a facilitator, just to prep people for that. So like if the speaker doesn't pause so that a reflection can happen, then as a facilitator, I might interrupt you and say, could you pause there to let the person reflect? Those are the typical kinds of interventions that the facilitator has to do. And it's good to say that at the beginning so that if you do it, people understand what you're doing and they're not as shocked by it. They're still going to be shocked by it, but not as much. And they'll understand why you're doing it. So we're going to practice that in threes. So we're going to send you to breakout rooms in threes, and you're each going to have 5 minutes. So we're going to do this for 15 minutes. You're each going to have 5 minutes to describe the empathy circle to the other two people, and then let them ask questions. They're going to listen as though they don't know anything about empathy circles. And then they're going to ask you questions about the process, like anything that they're unclear about from your description. That's the way you'll get feedback, is by hearing their questions of what they don't understand from what you've said. So you'll have 5 minutes apiece to do that, which is 15. So, someone in the group keep time. So you take 5 minutes apiece, and then we'll be bringing you back in. After that, after we practice introductions, we'll maybe just get a little feedback about that, how that went. And then we'll be splitting up into 3 empathy circles. And for the remaining time that we have, we'll have a 20-minute period at the end for debriefing, but the rest of the time will be spent in an empathy circle, and we'll split the amount of time that we have into the number of people. So if there are 3 or 4 people, the time will be divided by 3 or 4, and each of you will take a chunk of time to be the facilitator in the circle. The facilitation will move around in the circle. And yeah, and so you'll get practice doing that. Any questions about, actually, Katrina, did you have your hand up? Someone had their hand up.
Well, I did have a question, but I think I answered it myself. My question was, it's not like what we normally do where somebody reflects back. No.
You're talking about the introduction? The practicing introduction? No.
No,
you're just explaining it, and the other two people are acting as though they don't know anything about it. And so then they'll ask you about if they don't understand from what you're saying. Any other question? Pavel, you had a question? Anish. You're muted.
So I was just trying to access the document that Bill has shared.
Right.
To access, and I was curious if there are a written set of instructions which we can use as a model to go ahead with it.
Yeah, if I
Go ahead, Bill.
I put a link to the first class where there's a circle explanation, but for some reason it's not letting me cut and paste into the chat. So I don't know. So Edwin, do you have, you could put like a link to the how-to at some point?
I had sent everyone an email earlier today, and there was a link to a PDF. I don't know if you had time. We probably should have sent that earlier, but maybe Bill and Lou, you could actually model it before we go into the how you would do it.
Sure.
And you wanted groups of 3? Was that? I'm just making groups here. And then are we in it, or just the 3 part?
Sure, we can be in it. We don't need to be what we can be. So how many people would like us to model it before you go do it? Okay. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Yeah, Greg.
Okay, so it's off the topic a little bit, back to the technical difficulties. Sorry, I didn't think of this till just now. If someone's really freezing up a lot, other than having them turn off their video, have you found it helpful if they leave the meeting and then log back in? Does that ever help clear it up?
Sometimes. Yeah, I've also had someone participate by chat because that was the only thing. They were in a place with a very poor connection, and that was the only thing they could get through was the chat. And rather than kind of cut them out completely, we let them, I mean, it slowed things way down, but they were able to take their turn via chat. So that was a very kind of flexible way of responding to that difficulty.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Yeah, Samantha.
I actually have a question. I've seen circles where like the facilitator like participates in the circle as well and like acts as speaker and listener, but then I was also facilitating at the same time. Is like that typical, or do you sometimes take a more passive role and just sort of like facilitate the whole thing? Like what's kind of...
So in the empathy circle practice, the facilitator is a participant, and that is something that's different. And when I first learned empathy circle practice, I actually had questions about that in my mind. I've done a lot of facilitation, and it didn't seem right that the facilitator was actually a participant, and I've come to think that that's actually really important. So yeah, it's a significant difference, and it's very valuable, I think. Bill.
Yeah, and it emphasizes when we talk about the culture of empathy, the essence of like we're all equal in the same circle. It is, you know, when you're facilitating, there are certain things that are just, you can't get around, but you, as much as possible, you try to be, you know, one of everybody rather than here's the facilitator and here's everybody else. That's it. Thanks.
Aoife?
Yeah, that's the thing I love most about this. I just think that the facilitator participating is really the most powerful thing. So I love it.
Okay, so let's split up into the breakout rooms, and we'll see you in 15 minutes to hear how it went.
And just to be clear, we're taking part in 3 of them, and then there'll be one where there's not either of us.
And so again, you've got 5 minutes each, and to do the you got your 5 minutes to do the explanation, and then hear questions from the people who are listening.
And I put the link in there to the PDF. That's sort of the minimal instructions that you can always have printed out and use as a guideline too. So, okay, the rooms are being opened. Okay, hi everyone. So I can just model it. So with the empathy circle, there's a couple things just as a prelude. Is one, there's that video which you hopefully all saw, the 9-minute video, and sometimes I'll just show that as the explanation of how the process works. So I don't even need to, if it's a large group, you know, I can just show that. But if it's a small group, I might just give sort of the minimal instructions. And so I'll just model the minimal instructions and how I would do it. And then you could each go about introducing it. So yeah, I would just say, welcome to our Empathy Circle. I just want to give you a short introduction into how the Empathy Circle works. And the way the Empathy Circle works is, first there's 3 roles. There's the speaker, the listener, and then the silent listener, the active listener, and then the silent listener. And the speaker first selects who they're going to speak to, and then they speak on the topic at hand, or you can talk about whatever's alive for you, and you'll share a little bit, and then you'll pause, and then you allow the listener to reflect back their understanding of what you've said, and then you check, is that accurate? Is that what you really wanted to, do you feel like you're understood? And then if you don't feel understood, you can, you know, say it again, perhaps in other words. And if you did feel understood, then you can continue sharing some more, and you want to share maybe an idea or two, and then pause to give space for the listener to reflect again. And then you keep going for the time allotted, and in this time we'll be having 5-minute turns. And then some tips as the speaker, you know, you want to pause periodically to give time for the listener to reflect back. And as the listener, some tips is you're just reflecting back what it is that you hear the speaker saying. Sort of in your own words, you can sort of summarize or paraphrase, but you're just trying to capture the essence of what they're saying to you. And you don't want to add your own judgments or your own, you know, ideas or questions into it. And you're just trying to reflect back what it is you're hearing. And you don't want to interrupt or, you know, put your own comments in. But the only time when you can sort of interrupt is if the speaker is saying a lot and you think, oh, I'm not going to be able to remember all this. So you can just say, oh, would you pause? Let me just reflect back what it is that you're saying. So that's sort of the kind of the bare essence of the, oh, and then the other part is that once the time is up, the listener will become the speaker, and they will select who they're going to speak to, and that person will reflect back what is being said to you until, you know, you feel fully heard. And you can, if you just speak for a minute or two and you don't have anything else to say, you can say, I feel fully heard, and that's an indication that it's then the listener's turn to become the speaker. And or the time will be up, and I'll have a little, I didn't bring my, let me just get my little thing here. I didn't have that. So when the time is up, I'll just hold this up, and that just indicates that your time is up, and you'll want to sort of wrap up, you know, what you're saying, and then get your final reflection, and then it will be the listener's turn to speak. So that's the essence of it. Yeah, so that's sort of the minimal description that I sort of give. You can kind of go more into it, but usually that's kind of enough. And then maybe I'll say, and you know, the best way is just to learn, just to start doing it, and it'll kind of be more clear as we go along. So yeah, so that's my quick and dirty. So whoever wants to give it a shot, go ahead. Okay, go for it.
Just a question, Edwin, before I go.
Mm-hmm.
What do you tell a passive listener or a silent listener? Is there anything that you tell them about their role?
Sometimes, like if you, this is the handout here. This is sort of the minimal guide. It's good to have that printed out, and that was the link that I put in and sent. So it has those speaker tips, the active listener, reflector, and then the silent listener. And I usually don't say anything, you know, but on the handout it says, listen and be present to the exchange between the speaker and active listener. You will soon have a turn to actively listen and speak. So it's pretty much just be quiet, listen. And then I used to say, well, you can also take notes or whatever if you'd like, but you just want to be, quiet. So.
Okay. Okay, I'm happy to go.
Okay,
if
go for it.
Katrina doesn't want to go first. Yeah, okay, great. I hope this note is fine. It's visible. That's the one I've just made right now. Okay. Welcome all to the listening circle, or empathy circle as we call it. I'm Anish, and I'm going to be holding the space for today. And before we get started, I just want to give a few instructions about how we hold the space for empathy circle. There are 3 roles that we can identify ourselves with. At any point of time, there will be an active speaker, and there will be an active listener. And the 3rd role that we have is a silent listener or a passive listener. Now, I'm going to deep dive into each role so that it gets clarity about what we're going to do. The circle starts when whoever is inspired to start speaking, and that becomes the active speaker. You have about 5 minutes to share your thoughts about the topic that we are discussing, or anything that comes up alive in you. And before you start speaking, what would be nice is to pick up a person from the group who would like to be your active listener. So you can just ask this question, hey, Edwin, would you like to listen to me? And if Edwin says yes, then you can start speaking. While you're speaking, you can share whatever comes up for you in the way it comes for you. And sometimes when you're talking, you may not really keep time or understand how much you've shared. So it's always good to just check with your listener if your listener is still with you. That's one way of just ensuring that you're letting the listener follow you or accompany you. Second thing is to pause sometimes. That also allows sometimes to gather our thoughts and give space for the listener to interrupt you and just check with you. As an active, when you're finished speaking, or in other case, when your time's up, in which case a facilitator, which is in this case is me, will show you that the time's up. At that moment, you can pause, you can finish, wrap your last thought and say, and get a reflection back and say, I'm fully heard at this moment. At any point of time when you're hearing a reflection back and you feel that that's not what you're trying to say, you can always repeat yourself or rephrase yourself and just get a reflection back again. Sometimes breaking smaller sentences helps to get onto that note very easily. Coming to the active listener, as an active listener, the only role that I have to do is to bring my presence to the speaker and listen to the person as much as I can and reflect back the essence of what the speaker is saying. Few ways that you can do is by summarizing, is by paraphrasing, or it's just by telling the essence in your own words. Few things that you can be careful about not doing is to bring up your own version or interpret in your own ways, add your own advice or questions or curiosity, or bring anything else which the speaker did not intend to say. So one thing that you can also do as an active listener is sometimes when the speaker is in the flow and you feel that you have not got the essence or you are falling back, you can interrupt. And that's the only time we expect you to interrupt the speaker, just to let the speaker know to slow down or pause so that you can get the essence. Apart from that, we fully expect that we are able to just accompany or follow the speaker as they go. The last role, which is a silent listener, we just expect or we just request you to be present with your silence and listen to the speaker and the active listener, because things may come up for you, and when it is your turn to speak, you can always bring them up in your conversation. Now, one thing that I forgot to add was when the speaker finishes speaking and says, I feel fully heard at this moment, the listener who was active listener now dons the role of an active speaker and then picks up another person in the group by asking, hey, are you willing to listen to me? And you get a consent and you can go on and the circle continues. We do this for the allotted minutes of 60 minutes or 90 minutes, and we see how long can we do this. I am going to be an active participant, and I'm also going to be speaker and active listener and passive listener, and that's how the circle continues till the allotted time. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, now would be a good time to ask before we start the circle.
Okay, phew, yeah, good. Yeah, that you have a lot of experience with facilitation, so I think so. Yeah. So should we just do the next one and then we can sort of debrief? I wasn't sure how long they wanted us to, if they wanted us to debrief in the full group or here too, but shall we just, do you want to go, Katrina? And
yeah,
we'll...
yeah, I will go.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome to the Empathy Circle. If this is your first Empathy Circle, then I'm just going to explain a little bit more about how it works. So fundamentally, we're going to have people taking on different roles. There's going to be a speaker and an active listener, and we'll take it in turns to speak, and we'll speak for 5 minutes. And that the active listener will be the person who's not only listening to what the speaker is saying, but reflecting back what they've heard. So even though they're talking for 5 minutes, it's really important that the speaker pauses every now and then to allow the active listener to reflect back accurately, because it may be that they need you to even signal for their they maybe even need to say, I'm going to pause now, or something like that, rather than just speak for the whole 5 minutes. And the speaker will talk about either a topic that we've set for the meeting, or they'll speak about anything that's particularly relevant or on their mind. The active listener's role is simply to reflect back to the listener, to the speaker, what they've heard or what they've understood the speaker to have said. And they can check in with the speaker and ask if they're right, if they're not sure, and they can also ask the speaker to repeat something that they're not really sure about. So it's not the active listener's role to ask questions or to interject or to give their opinion about what's been said. But if what has been said has brought things up for the listener, then they will have an opportunity to return to that subject when it's their turn to speak. So the other members of the group will be taking on the role of passive listeners, and their role is simply to listen and to be witness to what's going on. And in my experience, I found actually the role of passive listener to be very helpful, because in being a passive listener, I actually find that I'm learning to listen to people at the same time without having the pressure of responding and reflecting. And sometimes when I hear the active listener responding, I find that the active listener's heard things that I haven't heard. So the passive listener is actually a really important role in my experience. And so the fourth role is the facilitator. And this evening I'll be the facilitator, and it'll be my role to keep time and to remind people what the object of the exercise is, and to interject if I feel that that somebody hasn't really understood what their role is, and to keep people in the process, which is important, because if people aren't in the process, then it's not going to work for everyone. And one of the really important aspects of empathy circles is that everyone feels heard, and that nobody comes away thinking, well, nobody was really listening to me. So that's one of my roles, is to make sure that there's a mutuality to the process. So once the 5 minutes is up, I'll somehow indicate to you that your time is up. And I think I have covered just about everything, but there may be some questions.
Okay, great. Yeah, so do you want to just kind of debrief a little bit before we go back? I think those.
Yeah.
So how was that for both of you?
Well, I was quite concerned when I was given this task, because it's such a huge subject. It really is a huge subject. And I was very relieved this evening when we were told we were just going to do one little bit, one little task. And also, I think I saw one of your videos, Edwin, where you'd said that there were only really 3 basic things to really know about empathy circles, and that kind of reassured me, because it seems to me like it's a really huge subject. So keeping it simple, I think, works for me.
Anish, any thoughts?
So I learn experientially. So before I came here last weekend, I ran a circle by myself for a group of 5 people, and we did the whole 2.5 hours. So I kind of practiced and went through the process. So I'm used to empathy circles in a very different format, which is not structured at all. So to have this structure has just kind of made life so much beautiful and nicer, because then there is a flow in this method. So I'm enjoying the fact that it is becoming clear. And so right now, when I was sharing the roles, they're very clear in my head, because I have this innate liking for the roles that I've brought to the process. So I don't know if I was clear in my roles, but I like the clarity of roles in the process.
Well, yeah, I can say it. Everybody sort of introduces it the way, you know, they feel comfortable. And almost every time I forget something, you know, it's like, and I always feel like I could kind of do it better, you know. And so, but the thing is with almost like minimal instructions, I find people just pick it up, because it's so basically very simple. Just reflect back what it is that you hear. So, and then I'll say, oh, you'll figure it, you'll get it in the circle. And then as facilitator, I'll have them speak to me first to model it, you know. So, and then people just sort of pick it up pretty quickly, even if they didn't really understand it. The second part is I do try to emphasize that to become prepared. So before people come to the circle, I say, you know, I do send the link to the PDF so they can be prepared, plus to the video. There's the, you know, 9-minute video, and then the 24-minute video that goes much deeper in sort of preparation. And, oh, let me just check. I got to see if Bill's, we're ready. Okay, it sounds like they're ready. We'll continue the debrief in the full group. So close on. So I wasn't keeping time very good, Bill. So I just
That's right.
went by your comment.
Sure.
Need to be clear before we go into the circles, like how much time. I got to have a stopwatch here.
We didn't have time to all go through our introductions, just FYI.
Yeah, I was called back by Bill, so I wasn't sure on the time.
Okay. I wasn't keeping time, you know, that.
So how did that go? What did you all learn from that? Anyone want to just chime in with what they learned from that? Bill, Brian?
Yeah, it was cool to see the same thing explained different ways and pick up a couple different words and things here or there. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'd really love to incorporate that. So I'd love to hear like 10 or 20 different people say it and kind of round out how I explain it myself.
Gregory or Greg?
Oh yeah, we had got to experience the actual technical problem, and so Dean's connection seemed to be a little, what do you call it? Bandwidth was narrow. So we all turned off our video, and it worked great. It was then it was possible to hear everybody. So it's good to learn that sometimes you really can fix technical issues.
Great. Aoife?
Yeah, and I think all of our explanations just felt very clear and straightforward and enough. You know, like maybe if you missed out one or two things, there was enough there. But then the feeling I have now is that a lot of in the first circles I did, it was mostly learning through observation and participation. So, you know, I don't feel as much stress about that maybe as I would about, am I going to start sharing and just go off on total tangents while I'm facilitating? I'd be more kind of concerned about that.
Samantha?
Yeah, I really just appreciated hearing everybody's different ways of explaining, and like I got value from each person's, you know, thing. And what we were discussing is it would have been great if we were able to sort of record what we were doing, so that we each had something to kind of go back to and take notes from, but we weren't able to because it said we had to get permission from the host. So that's maybe just a thing in the future for another training to allow recordings so that we can continue to learn from each other in that way.
Thanks for that feedback. Anyone else? Okay. So I'm going to turn it over to Bill. I was going to turn it over to Bill. Edwin, do you want to say something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're muted.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just gave, I think everybody record permission because I love that recording. I think it would be great to have all those different examples. So I think that, so that's, I do want to say a couple of things is, I do see that everybody explains it differently, you know, kind of the way that's comfortable for them. And I also mentioned that I always forget something, you know, but it doesn't seem to really matter, you know. It's like people just sort of pick it up. The second thing, I try to prepare people before they come into the empathy circle. You know, I do try to send them this, you know, printout that they can have handy. It's, I put the link in the chat, and it's in on the empathy circle page, you know, with the videos and this printout. And then there's also, I'll send out the 9-minute how-to empathy circle video, and then there's a 24-minute one. So I try to, you know, prepare people in advance so they already have a little bit of a background. Actually, something we need is a demo video of a simple, very simple empathy circle. It's something still to create. And yeah, so I was just wanted to throw those things in.
Yeah, I just wanted. Yeah, I thought that it was really good mentioning that. Yeah, I always miss something, and sometimes people's learning styles are different, and so therefore, you know, role modeling at the beginning when you have someone is just a really excellent idea. And as you become more comfortable with facilitation, you'll focus less on what you're doing, and then more on the kind of be able to read the room as you're doing it, and to pick up, you know, where people might have understanding gaps. So it's, you know, it's never going to be perfect, but if you can read the room and then, you know, make those communicative bridges, you know, that's the point. Okay.
Yeah, and I'll just add that I'm always trying to find the right balance between giving people enough information so that they feel comfortable participating, and not so much information that they feel overwhelmed. Because, you know, if you can completeness, you know, sometimes the impulse to try to be very complete and prepare people completely, you just wind up overwhelming them. You give them so much information they can't remember, they can't really take it in. So it's finding the right balance between those things. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it over to Bill, who's going to move into the Empathy Circle facilitation part.
Okay. So essentially what we're going to try to do is we're going to be into rooms. And I think what are we going into? Groups of 3, 4?
Well, there are 3 of us, and there's 12. So
12, okay. So we'll be in a room of 4. And we're trying to split you up with the Empathy Circle time. Everybody will have a time to facilitate. It's what, 10:43? And so we want to be there a little less, I guess, than an hour right now, right? 20 minutes per debrief. And so we'll try to give you roughly 20 minutes each. Lou has his typical, there we go.
Yeah, hang on, that's half of it.
Oh, that's half of it?
Yeah, hang on.
Okay. So in the chat, you can see some of the things, and feel free to act out. We will be acting out and kind of challenging you a bit. And just know that it's in fun. And then of course you can get your revenge, and then you can act out on us. Although I think we won't facilitate so much to give others more chances, right? So yeah, so at this particular point we won't do that. This is also just going to be very similar to the next class. So, Luke.
Right. So I just want to add, so the reason that we decided to add this element of that we have these typical things that happen and post that is because if you just took your time and facilitated the circle and like nothing really happened in the circle, you wouldn't really learn much. So these are the kinds of things that people do, and you will have to respond to them, and that's, you'll get some learning from that. And the other thing is, this is for everyone, to just be mindful that if you decide to do one of these things, use your judgment about how much challenge to provide to the person who is facilitating. And start with less and then give them more if they seem like, they can handle more, or if you're facilitating, you can let people know, that you like more or less challenge in terms of your learning.
Oh, so one thing we do that is a little bit different from the regular circle when we do this is that you can call a timeout. In other words, if you're facilitating and there's a difficult situation or you have a question, you can kind of call a timeout, and then you can say, oh, I'm having a problem with this, and then we can then discuss it right there. So that was okay. Any questions or yeah, Greg?
Just so to be clear, Lou, the comments, what you posted in the chat, it's the same as that PDF you sent out, isn't that?
Correct. And I appreciate you for mentioning that, because one of the things I'm concerned about is when we go into breakout rooms, I don't think what's in this chat goes into those rooms. So if you have the PDF, then you have that reference of things to use. And if you'd like, I could post the PDF again if people want me to do that. In fact, or if you want, you could just copy what's in the chat now, and when you get into your room, you could paste it back in.
Max.
So what's in the chat, is that what we are supposed to do from time to time? Like repeat?
Yeah, and I'm not asking everyone to do that, but I'm just saying that, certainly the instructors, we're gonna do some of those things. And we're just letting you know we're gonna do some of those things. And then if others of you, want to try that on, you're welcome to do that.
And then Edwin also had something to say.
Yeah, I was wanting to get the times for this again. What's the overall time?
Well, it's 10:47. We want 20 minutes for a debrief. So so at 11:40 we'll be stopping. So
so a little less than an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, and so 11:40 stopped, then I'll bring everybody back. And then how much time does each person gets to facilitate? There's
well, it's a
4
little
of us.
less than an hour. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think as the participants, I don't know, should have enough time. That would be approximately 20 minutes apiece for the participants. But then, of course, you can't get your revenge on us. I don't know. Lou, should we facilitate, or what do you think?
I think that's up to each of us to decide
Okay.
whether to take a turn or not.
Okay.
So maybe we do 15 minutes,
Okay. 15 minutes.
15-minute turns on
Okay.
each.
Is there going to be a is there a topic, or is just whatever the facilitator wants to set the topic? Or
Yeah, the topic is, how does your cultural background support or pose challenges to your facilitation? That was the, it's a, it's a or whatever's on your mind. Okay, anything, oh, Anish, I'm sorry, you had your hand up.
Yeah, so I understand that the intention of today's circle is for the facilitator to really check the boundaries and really get the feel of how to facilitate. So the speaker and active listening time from 5 minutes, can we relook at rescheduling it to 3 minutes so that there are more rounds, so we can have more time to hear more people? Or
Okay.
we stick to 5 minutes?
No,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Lou.
Go ahead, Bill. No, go ahead, Bill.
No, and the last time, actually, we did that. We changed to 3 minutes. I think that's fine with me. Lou, Edwin?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
yeah, sounds good. Good point.
Thanks, Anish. Nice idea. Okay. All right.
Okay, ready for?
Yeah.
Unless there's more. Okay. Here we go. Okay. All right. So who wants to facilitate the first one? And we're doing 15-minute.
I can facilitate the first one.
Okay.
So, hello everyone. So, who would like to start speaking first?
I have a question first. Could you really quickly explain the topic again?
The topic is, how does your cultural background might influence you as facilitator? Do you have any other questions? So, who wants to start?
I'll start. I'll speak to Max. If you ask me, this is a stupid topic. It's like, I don't know. I don't like this topic at all. So I think I'm going to just talk about whatever's sort of alive for me, and yeah. And I think I got to say that these facilitators are like, this facilitator is a little flaky, if you ask me.
So
who you're speaking to?
Max.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm hearing is that Edwin thinks that this topic is not interesting to him, and he'd like to rather speak about what's alive in him right now.
Yeah.
And he also thinks that Pavel is a bit flaky.
Yeah, as a facilitator, I just don't think he's doing a very good job. I mean, who comes up with a stupid question like this, And we weren't asked either if we wanted this topic. I mean, how come he gets to decide the topic?
So what I'm hearing is that Edwin is still very unhappy with the topic and the way that it was decided that we speak about this topic. And also he's thinking that the facilitator is not doing a very good job.
He's very controlling. He's always controlling. So I think he had to, kind of loosen up a little bit. Yeah. Make it easier for us. Kind of ask us, what topic would you all would like to talk about? But now he's got to control it. He controls it. So yeah, I'm kind of fed up with it.
So what I'm hearing is that Edwin is a bit fed up with how the topic was decided, and he feels that the facilitator is very controlling, and he'd like to be involved more in finding the topic and deciding on the topic.
Feel fully heard.
Okay, so it's my turn, and Samantha, I'm gonna talk to you if you don't mind.
Sure. Listening.
Okay, so I'm not really sure what I'm going to speak about. So my cultural background, can I agree with Edwin? I don't think that's a very good topic, because when I'm going to talk about, it's how is my cultural background going to be of any importance when I'm speaking to people who are from the same culture?
Yeah, I totally agree with that too. Like, this just doesn't make sense for me, this topic.
Right?
And yeah, like, what is the deal?
Jesus, it's like, guys, put some effort into it. It's, I want to be, this time I'm taking 2 hours out of my schedule to be here.
I know, right?
Yeah,
Right?
what's happening here? I totally agree. I think we're all in agreement here.
So
Yeah.
I would guys ask you if we can just stick to the framework. Edwin, you're not allowed to interfere. You'll get your chance when you're the speaker. And Samantha, I would kindly ask you if you can reflect on Max without adding on your own ideas. Thank you. Max, you can continue.
Okay, thank you. Well, it was kind of controlling, but well, that's how they are. Yeah, my cultural background. I guess I don't really know what to talk about, so I'm just going to talk about something else, I guess. I mean, Pavel, do you have any suggestions? Anything else I could talk about?
I'm not allowed to interfere. Samantha is the one who is supposed to reflect on you.
Wait,
No,
so
not really.
what do I say? What do I do?
You're supposed to reflect on Max's thoughts.
Okay, so Max, you're saying you don't know what to say about this topic, and you're kind of looking to Pavel to pick a different one or give some guidance on what else you could talk about.
Yeah. And also, I haven't really thought about my cultural background and how that would have any influence on empathy circles. So I'm kind of feeling put on the spot.
Max, just to clarify something, it was how it can influence you as a facilitator. And time's up, by the way. Samantha, you have a last chance to reflect on Max's thoughts.
So you haven't really thought about the topic much. You're not really sure what to say about it.
Thank you, Max. Thank you, Samantha. So Samantha, you are the speaker now. You can select someone to listen to you.
Okay, Edwin, will you listen?
Yeah, listening.
Okay, so I'm really not sure what to talk about in this topic either. I just don't really know. I'm not really sure what to say about how my cultural background might pose a challenge to me facilitating. I mean, it makes me think about my cultural background a little bit. So like, okay, I do have like an Italian heritage, and a lot of that might, maybe like I don't know, I'll do a lot more talking than usual, or I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking off the top of my head.
Okay, well, can I just reflect that back? So you're not really sure how this really affects you, but you're just kind of thinking about it, and you realize you have an Italian background, and that Italian maybe being more demonstrative might have some kind of an effect.
Yeah, maybe. Also, maybe thinking about I don't know. So I'm trying to like think about how I can play a devil's advocate a little bit and be like a difficult participant to give Pavel some experience, but I'm also kind of wanting to engage in the topic a little bit as well. So I'm not really sure, like.
Okay, well, let me what I'm hearing is you're wanting to be a devil's advocate, give Pavel a hard time, and then on the other hand, you do want to engage in the topic. So you're kind of like struggling between the two.
Mm-hmm. So I particularly want to facilitate empathy circles on the topic of race. So I do think it's important to consider my cultural background, especially as like a white person, and how might that impact me as a facilitator, and especially if I have people of color in my circles or other people of other backgrounds, and to just be aware of that somehow, but I'm not really sure like how to address that.
So you're wanting to hold these circles on race, and you're wanting to be aware of that you're white, you maybe have people of color, you're just kind of like wondering what the impact will be, but it sounds like you're not really sure, you're not really clear on what it will have.
I mean, maybe I could just start the circle off where, like, does anybody have any thoughts or feelings or anything that comes up for you about being in a circle with people of mixed backgrounds, and just have them talk about that.
So thinking maybe a starting point is, hey, can we just talk about how do you feel about having this different mixed ethnic or racial backgrounds, and just think as a first discussion topic. Okay.
That was a final reflection.
Okay.
Edwin, you may select someone to speak.
Okay, I'll speak to you, Pavel.
Listening?
Yeah, for me, I kind of think it's overdone, this racial thing, you know, like we have to be all worried about it all and all that kind of stuff. When you get people into an empathy circle, it's kind of just people, you know, so sometimes I think all this racial stuff is a big, you know, left-wing political, you know, I don't know, something, you know, they're making a big, it's creating more problems than it needs to be. So that's a lot of my understanding, feeling.
So kind of you think that racial thing is overblown.
Yeah.
In the end of the day, we're all humans. And,
yeah. And so I am also thinking of giving you a hard time, but I tried not to because I didn't want to make it all hard times. so that's part of part of my thinking here. It's like you don't want to just have it nothing but difficult time.
So kind of you were thinking to give me a hard time, but you didn't want to overwhelm me in a sense.
Yeah, it's a little it would be too
I personally
over.
think, Edwin, that you're just too easy.
Look at shut up, Max. It's my turn to speak, Max. Shut the fuck up.
Oh, you didn't.
Guys, just to remind you of the structure that we need to follow, and please stick to it. Edwin, you can continue.
Yeah, thanks for sticking up to the structure. These radicals like Max, you know, who needs them in the circles? They don't follow the rules. They always want to talk. They're nothing but trouble causers. I mean, they should just kick them out, if you ask me.
You appreciate that I stick to the structure and gave you the chance to continue speaking, and you think that they're kind of like too radical about it.
Yeah, and we should kick him out. I think we should kick him out of the circle.
You think that we should get rid of Max?
Yeah, exactly. And you're the facilitator, and you have the power, so you should kick him out.
You think that I have the right to do so?
And you have the power, you have the eject button as the facilitator. You can just click on his name, hit the eject, and kick him out of here, because he just kind of interrupts, you know, he's always disrupting stuff, you know. So.
I think Edwin is discriminating against me based on me being a foreigner. You know, I think that's pretty racist.
So Max, you think that Edwin is discriminating against you and you don't like that, but again, just want to remind you that you have your chance to talk when it's your turn. And
look,
Edwin,
these Nazi Germans, it's like, you know, what are they doing in this group? It's like, you know, it's a bunch of old Nazi Germans. So like, yeah, come on, let's get rid of these Nazis.
so you're wondering what these Nazi Germans are doing in the empathy circles, which should just get rid of them. And that is time.
Yeah,
Edwin?
I feel fully heard.
Thank you. So, as usual, time out. Now it's my time to speak, but as we spoke in the room, we were wondering, should the facilitators be speakers? We didn't clarify that.
Oh, I think whatever you want to do is fine. If you want to speak, I think we have like about 4 minutes left.
Yeah, I think they said that the facilitators act as participants as well, so
yeah.
you could be the speaker.
Okay. Max, did you wanted to speak, so I'll speak to you. Would you listen to me?
Yes, gladly.
So I find it kind of exciting and fun with these challenges.
What I'm hearing is that you're finding it fun and exciting, this challenge.
And at the same time, I noticed that Edwin, it's like so built into his subconscious to do the right thing that when Sam tries to speak for too long, he did not allow her and asked her to reflect on her. Instead of me interrupting Sam and saying, can she pause so Edwin can reflect?
So what I'm hearing is that you notice that Edwin is very used to this process, and he automatically asked for a pause and didn't give you the chance to do that.
Yes. So it would have been just another thing for me to try to fix, but he did it for me.
And that really, really annoys you, is what I'm hearing.
No, it's not that annoys me. It's just that he made it easier for me.
So what I'm hearing is that you want more of a challenge than what you've been given.
Yes, you can say that, but just to remind you, Max, if you can just reflect on my thoughts and not add your own ideas.
So what I'm hearing is that you want me to not interject my own ideas, but just reflect back to what you said.
Yes, thank you very much. And yeah, what's the thing with these Nazi Germans? Like, what the fuck are they doing here? I just don't get.
So what I'm hearing is that you're very confused that there's actual Nazis in the chat.
Yeah, I apologize for saying that. I think we're being prejudiced towards Germans. They're very nice people. I've been in Germany, and I've had German friends. So it's in the past, and same. It goes with what's in the past. It's in the past. We should not treat people as their, how to say it, as what they once were.
So what I'm hearing is that you're thinking what's past is in the past, and since it wasn't all that bad, you think it's fine and you should.
I don't know. That's kind of like having white Americans say, "Oh, let's just forget slavery happened."
So Samantha, you think that you give that analogy with slavery, but once again, I just want to remind you that you have your chance to speak when it's your turn.
Oh, right. Sorry, I forgot.
Thank you, Sam.
Okay, I think that was time too for the 15.
That was time, yes.
Just for the clarity, Max, I'm German too. I have dual nationalities. I have German citizenship and American.
I really like that. That was pretty good.
I think we should kick Edwin out. So
okay, did you want to debrief or just go to the next person?
I don't think we'll have time for debriefs, right?
Yeah, so you better, I got to go right into the next. So
I agree with Sam and Edwin. I think we should debrief on it. Does someone wants to share his thoughts?
Real quick, I had some points. So I like that you always kept track of time, even if it was really stressful. And at one point, I was done speaking, but I hadn't been given the reflection yet. But you still thought to give Samantha some time to reflect back to me what was said, and like that you thought about that. And something else, I don't know how to respond to that. At some point, all three of us said that we don't like the topic, and you said, no, we should stick with that. And I don't know if that's the appropriate way to respond to that or not. And it's just something that caught my attention. So.
Yeah, really quick, something I noticed I appreciated is that when somebody talked out of turn, you still reflected them, but then reminded them of the structure. So I think that's like a helpful de-escalation kind of thing that I noticed you do.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
And Edwin, do you have something to share?
Yeah, just didn't want to overdo it with all the struggles, so it's just the whole circle is just the struggle. So kind of mixing it a little bit. So there was some, yeah, that was all that came to mind. Yeah, but yeah, you were calm, you were relaxed, I thought, and kept people on track.
Thank you. And so I guess now we should turn to someone else to be the, and just to clarify something, I don't know, Max, if maybe you didn't understand me. I didn't say we should stick to the topic. I didn't say that, just to clarify.
Yeah, because you always have whatever's alive in you is always the topic.
Yeah, I just kind of heard, Pavel, you reflecting that people didn't want to talk about the topic, but I didn't hear you say, oh, we should keep to the topic, just that you weren't acknowledging. I guess maybe it just wasn't responding to the questions, just reflecting. And maybe it felt like it wasn't changing the time. I'm not trying.
Anyway, for the time, somebody else should go because we've only got about.
And I kind of feel like I want to try next, just so that, because last time I kind of ran out of time. So, yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, so who would like to speak first? And if you want, if it's helpful for me to kind of model the listening role, I can be the first listener, or if you want to choose somebody, Max.
I can just start. And I pick Pavel. And so so far I've been really enjoying this. It's lots of fun and also very informative.
You've really enjoyed that and you find it very informative.
Yeah, and it's
sorry, if I could just pause here.
I'm sorry, I'm just
sorry, just to pause here. Edwin, I see that you have some thoughts and feelings about what's being said. I just want to remind you, you will have a chance to speak at some point, but ask to just refrain from showing signs or interrupting the active speaker in any way.
Okay.
And Max, please continue.
So should I just should I just let Edwin speak now, or?
No, feel free to speak until you feel like you've been heard, and then Edwin will have a chance to speak as well.
So Max, you're wondering if Edwin should speak now?
Yeah, that's because he's probably, I guess he wants to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But I get, well, I just go on. It's all right. Well, as I was saying, I really like that this whole concept that is so multicultural, with people from all over the world, and who have the same interests and share the same ideals.
Mm-hmm. So you like how this diversity of people comes into one place and they share a common goal, common ideals?
No, it's more about that it's more like, I like that this is so multicultural, and that we're, exchanging ideas.
Mm-hmm. So you like that we're coming from different cultures and we share the same idea?
I don't know. It's just I find it hard to put in words. I guess I like that we're, like, we're all from different parts of the world, but we still communicate with each other without, without fighting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that.
Sorry.
Yeah, cool.
Another quick facilitator timeout here.
So.
Thank you. So sorry for these interruptions. This is kind of part of the process, and this is a very unusual, different way of speaking with each other. So it's easy to kind of fall into some of those old patterns. But one thing I'm noticing is, Pavel, you kind of said you agreed with Max, but the goal is to, as the active listener, you're just reflecting what you think he's saying or meaning, and then sometimes it can be, we want to include our own thoughts because we often do that in normal conversation, but for the structure of the circle, I would just ask that you not, that you just reflect what you're hearing. And then Max, I don't know if you felt like at times like you weren't being heard, but that's also part of the process too. So you're kind of trying to clarify that, which was great. And sometimes as facilitator, I might jump in and try to offer those reflections if I'm not seeing, so that you can feel heard. And Max, what I felt like you were saying before is that because we're all coming from different cultures, we have different ideas and different ways of viewing the world. And that's what you find enriching, not that we have the same idea.
Yeah, thank you, Samantha.
Yeah, that was.
But I don't like that she interrupts so much,
Yeah, no, this is all part of the process. It's awkward at first. It's really hard to get a hang on. So, nobody's doing anything wrong. I just want you all to, I'm using this opportunity to help explain like how this is different than a regular conversation. So you're all doing a great job. And that was the time. So Max, sorry, were you the speaker? You were the speaker. Pavel, you were the listener. So now, Pavel, you will become the new active speaker and you will pick a new listener for you.
Okay, thank you. I kind of like, in a second, I forgot that I was the listener. I thought that I was the speaker. So it's kind of fits funny by saying that I'm the speaker because I felt that I was the speaker. But I was the listener. And I'm the speaker
right
now.
Exactly, yeah. So Max was kind of the speaker in that point. He chose you as the active listener, so you were reflecting back what he was saying, and now that Max is done being the speaker, now you get to be the new speaker and you can choose somebody else to listen for you.
Okay.
And I might suggest, but again, you don't have to take the suggestion, but I might suggest Edwin, just because it sounded like he had some interesting things he wanted to express before. So then whoever you choose as the listener next gets to become the next speaker. So it's important to keep that in mind. We want to try to make sure everybody has a chance to speak and be heard. So, you know, I wouldn't pick somebody who already was just a listener before, but maybe somebody who hasn't had a chance to speak yet.
Yeah, I get you. You think that I should pick someone that hasn't had the chance to speak yet. So, Edwin, would you listen to me?
Alrighty, listening.
Yeah, like I feel like a kid, to be honest. Like I feel like I'm in the playground. I really enjoy this process. Like empathy circles can be fun, you know? It's like,
yeah, I have the same feeling. I just really have, it's like a play day, right? We're just playing, we're having fun. It's like,
ding, 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 facilitator timeout. So sorry for the interruption. But I know it's maybe a little bit annoying right now, but Edwin, I'm just noticing that you're feeling a lot of agreement with what Pavel's saying. But your role as the active listener right now is to just reflect what you think, the meaning of what he's saying. Yeah,
so
worries.
Pavel, yeah, you're saying you're having a lot of fun. You enjoy this process, and
yeah, and I think
like
Samantha. I think Samantha has spoken more than any one of us so far.
Yeah, so you're really, as facilitator, she's speaking more than anybody. So you're just kind of noticing that. You think that's maybe funny.
Yeah, and I think she should chill a bit, you know, like she doesn't have to be so controlling. It's like we try our best in the end of the day.
Yeah, so maybe she could chill a little bit and not control so much.
Yes, and in the PDF format, Lou added like don't try to interfere too much, something of that sort. It's like you as facilitator can interfere, but don't make it priority to interfere. It's like allow for mistakes to happen. We're all humans in the end of the day. And naturally, our tendency will be to stick to the blueprint. And we may do it ourselves. We can fix it instead of waiting for the facilitator to do that.
So you think it should be sort of a lighter touch in facilitation and not have so much facilitation, but less.
Yes, and I like how Samantha calmed down a bit at the moment. It feels more natural.
So you see that she's kind of relaxing, calming down, and you kind of like that. It seems more natural.
Yes, and I liked your bullshit sign. I think it's absolutely bullshit. I totally agree with you on that.
So you agree that this is kind of bullshit. You like the sign and kind of have a sense of the bullshit of this that we're doing.
Yeah, and I see that they have 20 seconds left, and I think it's very nice that Samantha let me know in advance.
So you're appreciating the knowing that you have 20 seconds left, not that you're kind of like totally cut off.
And I wonder why it's not Max not trying to make any troubles. Like he could have done that, but he chose not to. Like, does he prefer Samantha more, you know?
Oh, so you're noticing Max isn't kind of making trouble here for Samantha, and you're wondering if he's kind of playing favoritism, like he made trouble for you, but not for her.
He made trouble for me, exactly. Yes, yes.
So you're really wondering what's going on there.
Yes.
Perfect. So that was time for Pavel. Pavel, do you feel fully heard?
I feel fully heard. Thank you, Samantha.
Okay. So now, Edwin, you become the new speaker, and you choose somebody else in the circle to listen for you.
I'll speak to you.
Okay. So I'm going to start the timer for 3 minutes.
Yeah, I don't really know what to talk about. It's nothing's coming up. I'm not really sure what to say.
Yeah, so you're really not sure what to talk about right now. Nothing's coming up for you.
It's like...
and who you're speaking to, Edwin?
I'm speaking to Samantha.
Ah, okay. Sorry.
So, yeah, I'm feeling pretty depressed. You know, I'm just having a really hard time of it. You know, my father just died, and you know, I'm just kind of having trouble kind of keeping it together. It's like, it's really, really hard to, I don't even know why I'm here, because it's pretty hard to keep it together right now. I'm just really dealing with some pretty difficult, you know, painful things. So, yeah.
Yeah, so you're finding it really hard to fully participate in today's circle. Your father just died and you're feeling very depressed.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I just don't know. I just can't kind of concentrate on anything. I just can't kind of think about anything. It's just kind of the, I don't know. It just kind of just happened, and it was just like all of a sudden, kind of out of nowhere, and it's like I don't know. I just don't know. I don't even know what I'm doing here. It's like I should be doing something else, but I don't know what to do.
So this very tragic thing just happened and you're not sure what to do. You're not even sure why you're here. And
I mean, I'd been contemplating suicide before this. It's like, and then this is happening on top of it. It's like, I don't know, like why even go on living? I'm just kind of wondering, like, what am I, you know, why am I even bothering living? It's like, you know, I've got the gun here. You know, it may just blow my brains out is what I've been thinking about, is just, you know, why not just end it? Why deal with all this pain and suffering that's kind of going on in my life?
So I hear you're in a very difficult place right now. I'm also hearing some other interruption noise. So if everybody else who's not speaking or the active listener could just mute themselves, that would be helpful.
Yeah. So
Oh, sorry, that was me. Sorry.
No worries.
Yeah.
Edwin, I'm hearing that you're in a very difficult place right now, and I will say that today's circle is not structured or designed to address some of these very real and difficult challenges that you're facing. So I would encourage, you know, we can talk a little bit after the circle. You know, if you're needing some other support around that, but for today's circle, you know, we're focusing on the topic at hand. And again, I respect what you're going through right now. And there's other ways to, you know, other places for getting support around that, but that's not the goal of today's circle.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I feel heard. Yeah.
And thank you, Pavel. Sometimes the facilitator loses track of time, so I appreciate you helping us stick with that.
Welcome, Sam.
Look who's playing favorites now. Yeah, I did.
Okay, well, I'm hearing Max, you have some concerns, so I will ask if you would listen for me, and that way you'll have the next chance to be the speaker.
I just want to say, like, my
that was the time.
condolences, Edwin.
Sorry, that was the 15.
Oh, that was the 15-minute time. Okay.
So I think we only have like 11 minutes, so we should jump into Max's.
Yeah, I think we should.
Thing. So you want to take it away, Max?
Okay, sure. Thank you. Okay. So am I gonna? No, I'm not gonna start off as the speaker. So who wants to speak? Samantha, maybe you just want to go first.
I'd rather not.
Sure. Is anyone feeling up for it?
I can speak.
Neville, please go ahead.
Sam, would you listen to me?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know, like, I really hope that this didn't happen to Edwin, but he sounded like so realistic. Like, I believe that actually it did happen. And I simply felt that, like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to interfere.
Yeah, so you really were feeling into what Edwin was saying and hoping that that wasn't true for him.
Yes. And I also liked how Max interfered with the music.
And you really hated how Max interfered with the music. It was so rude.
Yeah, I totally hated it. Like,
you really loved it. You loved how Max interfered with the music.
No, I said the opposite. Yeah, thank you,
Not
Sam.
understanding, Pavel. What are you meaning? It was a little unclear to me. What did you?
Could I just interject for a second there?
What?
Sorry, Edwin. Thank you that you're so active in the conversation. I just want to remind everybody that it's only the silent the active listener who's reflected back to everybody. So Edwin, your role right now is to be silent listener, and you'll get your turn to speak in just a few minutes. And
I just wanted yes, thank you, Max. I kind of felt that Edwin is stealing from my time, and I like.
So no, go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you. I like how you said it. Thank you that you're so active. I think it's nice. Yes. So I feel fully heard, Sam. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to choose Edwin. Will you listen for me?
Yep.
So I So I'm really excited about this open mic that my friend is gonna start, and I'm gonna get a chance to play in the open mic, and I'm really looking forward to it.
What is an open mic?
More about it, yeah.
It's like
Sorry, you guys. Could I interrupt for a quick second there?
Yeah.
About you can ask a question when it's your turn. I would encourage everybody to just let Samantha and Edwin do their turn and let Edwin reflect back to Samantha. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Max.
So you're saying that you're going to be doing an open mic and you're kind of excited about it?
Well, yeah, a friend of mine is hosting it, and each person who participates, you can play music in it. It's all going to be virtually on Zoom, so people all over can join in and participate, and I'm going to be playing a few songs, and I'm really excited and looking forward to it. And that's just what's on my mind right now.
Yeah, so you're just sharing what's on your mind, and there's going to be this open mic, and it's going to be, it sounds like, online, and people can share, and it sounds like you're just feeling some excitement on it and about it.
And my husband and I had a really fun time yesterday coming up with alternative lyrics to the Beatles song Yesterday, and we were really cracking up about it and having a good time.
Yeah, so you're having a good time. You came up with your husband some lyrics, and yeah, you're looking pretty excited about it.
What else? Yeah, I don't know about you, but this weather has just been so hot over here. I don't know about you, but it's just like, woo.
Yeah, so it's like excited about the weather. It's not maybe excited, but it's just really hot, and it's, yeah.
Yeah, let's see, what else can I ramble about?
We're coming up on time, so Samantha, maybe finish that thought.
I guess there's nothing else about that. I feel fully heard.
Okay, well, I'll speak back to you then. Yeah, we're having pretty good weather here too. The weather has been kind of windy last week, and now it's just started to warm up, and so it's nice and sunny out there.
So you're having lots of windy and sunny weather where you are.
Yeah, I feel heard.
Oh, I get to speak again, I guess. Okay. Max, will you listen for me?
Yes, gladly.
Hi, how you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing very well. Samantha, I suggest that you just, if you're not sure what you want to speak about, you just take a second to feel into yourself and look what's going on inside, and just speak about what's coming to your mind.
Okay, this is just so awkward for me. I'm not used to this. I just don't know really what to say.
So what I'm hearing is that this feels awkward to you, and you're not quite sure what to say.
Yeah.
Tell us more about the lyrics, Sam.
Yeah.
They're if anybody appreciates bathroom humor, that's all I can say about that.
Go ahead.
Just a little reminder. So I appreciate the suggestions, but for the topic suggestions for Sam. But I would encourage everyone to just let Sam speak. And Sam, if right now you don't have anything you want to speak about, you can just say that you're feeling hurt and pass the role to somebody else. It's fine.
Okay. Yeah. Since I don't really know what else to say, I'll just say that I feel hurt, and I'll be done.
Okay, so I'll be the speaker.
Can I
and,
speak? I'd
Edwin,
like to.
do you want to
Can
listen
I?
to me?
Oh, well, I kind of like to speak, but can I speak?
Sure, I don't mind.
Oh, okay. Great. Then.
Wait. If he can just speak, I want to speak. That's not fair.
Yeah. Why not? I should speak. If I want to speak, I should be able to speak.
Why don't we all just speak whenever we want?
Well, yeah.
Okay, I see that I didn't communicate in the way I wanted to. So, of course, it's very important that we stick to the rules and speak when it's our turn. In this case, I just gave up my turn in favor of Edwin, but I understand if that's making you feel uncomfortable, Sam. And well, I would just ask you to, if it's all right with you, for Edwin to speak right now, and maybe you can speak to you.
No, it's not all right with me.
Would you be okay with Edwin speaking right now, or is that completely?
No, I would not be okay with him speaking. I don't think he should get to
my
speak
turn.
at all.
It's my turn, and you guys are taking my turn. Like, I really don't. It's like it's my turn to speak now. So I don't know.
No, it wasn't your turn. It was Max. Max was supposed to speak.
Max
I
said
think
that
we
it
should
was
be more
my turn.
realistic, guys. Come on, this will never happen in an empathy circle.
No, there was a truth to it, because he broke the structure. Max broke the structure.
I'm hearing that we have some different opinions on how to adhere to the rules, and I guess the easiest thing would be just to go back to the ground rules, and I'll just take the role of the active speaker. And I appreciate all your comments, and I'll just start speaking, and we'll keep it the way we're used to it. Okay, so I'll speak to Edwin right now, and Edwin, that means that after this you'll be the one speaking.
Can I just interrupt? It's like we only have like 2 minutes. I wondered if we just kind of end your time there and then do a quick debrief before we go to the full group.
Yeah, that's just
okay.
Bad.
Yeah, because I did want to point that out, because Sam picked it up, is that you stopped following the rules. So the way you could have passed it on is you said, Edwin, and then you could have just said, I feel fully heard, and then it would have been my turn to speak, right? So you want to, if you want to kind of stay, and then Sam picked, I thought it was great that she picked it up. So to really stick with the rules, because people do pick it up. There's other people tracking the time, there's, you know, so and fairness, you know, and consistency is important. Otherwise it blows up like it was doing, right? Just that simple thing, especially intense things, can blow up. So
yeah, and I also noticed, and I don't know, like I appreciated, like Pavel, I don't know if that was like your feedback in disguise about me kind of like being too controlling as a facilitator, but I'd like some thoughts about that, and like at what points do you intervene, at what points do you just allow mistakes to happen? Because another thing I noticed was Edwin, I had just been the speaker, and then Edwin chose me to listen for him again, you know, and it's like, is that a big deal or not? And like, I don't know. But what points do you intervene or not?
Yeah, my take is like you have to, for example, in the first round, we would like everyone to have a chance to speak. But if it's the second or the third round, for example, this can happen. We can allow it to happen. But in the first round, we would like everyone to have his turn. So if it's in the first round, you can intervene. If it's not, you may pass it by in this type of situation.
yeah, we didn't make that announcement. Like sometimes I'll say it in the introduction, like, you know, we want to give everyone a chance to speak. So kind of, but ultimately it's your choice of who you select. So try to spread it around. So and I was kind of hoping, Sam, that I would speak to you and you would speak back to me, and we'd kind of create a little discussion between you and
right.
I to say, well, how do you break that up, you know? But then you broke it up. That's what I was trying to create at that point.
Oh, right. Yeah, you could have chatted me. We
Yeah.
could have colluded on that. Pavel.
I really like the way Max interfered. Like the words he had chosen were very well structured in a polite manner. Like I'll encourage. He said, "I'll encourage you if everyone follows Sam to speak or something like this." And I'm hearing that we have different opinions, his reflections on the whole group, and then he brings us back to the structure. And there were other things that I couldn't manage to write them down, but he had like very good points.
The room's closing in about 50
Does anybody have
seconds.
quick feedback for me?
Oh, yes. I think that you could interfere in a much gentle way. Instead of saying time out, you could say just like, Max, like, I really appreciate your opinion, but you know, So instead of saying time out. Or you can first raise your hand, so you would let them know that you would like to speak, and then you interfere.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, as a facilitator, if you set up with the group ahead of time, like a way that you might gesture or indicate that you'll interrupt or just add feedback so that it's not like so jarring. So maybe that's something I would set up in.
Okay, I see smiles on everybody's faces, so I hope you had as much fun as we did.
Do we continue to misbehave here as well?
Well, be gentle. There's always room for misbehavior. You know, okay. So we just get to the point here where we kind of give feedback about the experience, maybe some challenges, and then to help us, you know, areas where you felt issues you might have were addressed, or other things that were not addressed where you kind of would like some more support or help in the future. And I'll just kind of go around and I'll start with Greg.
Well, yeah, I'm still nervous about handling a difficult participant. I think Lou did a very good job of modeling such a person, but I'm still not confident I would be able to deal with that in a real situation. However, I feel more confident than I did before. Like I saw some response models that were helpful. So yeah, that's like thoughts right now.
Thanks, Greg. That's really helpful. Katrina.
It was difficult. I found it very difficult. I expressed that I would have preferred to have had a straightforward first go with no sort of acting up, just to kind of familiarize myself with the process. That's the way that I learn. But having said that, I wasn't sort of stressed out about what was going on, but I just found it not especially helpful, to be honest. I did think that it was interesting listening to Lou and some of the things he was saying. I was like, oh, some people will be thinking this way, and it was a revelation to me to hear what people might come up with.
Okay. So, Katrina, I really want to, one of the things is we're trying to give people enough experience, but also, be brief and not, commit people to too much time. So one of the areas in our facilitator support group, you can also, reach out to Lou or myself if there are certain issues. And then also you can participate in cafes where you can get a little bit more experience, kind of ease into it. And the other thing is, when you feel ready, we can co-facilitate with you. So when you go in there, you can say, hey, Bill, would you, or Lou, or Edwin, could you be in the circle with me? And then we could co-facilitate. And if you hit a really difficult situation, we can be there to support you. So those are some of the ways that we can address that.
Thank you.
Sure. Brian?
Yeah, I had a blast. I was actively threatening people through chat and directly to their face. And they dealt with it great. And I felt, I'm a facilitator, so I felt very comfortable and appreciated the challenge, as well as a great opportunity to try things on.
Great. Thanks, Brian. Sam?
Yeah, I thought this was a really valuable experience and a lot of fun. And I just wish there was more time. Like I constantly felt like we just didn't quite have enough time to like give each other feedback or really get into it. But I respect that we have a time to stick to. And I don't know, I'd like to do this again. I'm not sure what the last module is going to be about, but I just find myself sort of like wanting more of this. And for me personally, I think what I'd like more support or clarity on as a facilitator is like handling interruptions and the ways that you interject if needed, and like a balance of how often do you intervene versus do you let the mistakes happen and let them sort of self-correct, and like that's something I think I'd look for more guidance on.
Great. So Lou, go ahead.
Well, I just want to invite Sam. One of the things that you can use the Friday facilitator circles for is to say, like, bring a particular situation. So this situation worries me, and we could role play it, and you could get the kind of depth maybe that you didn't have time to do in this class.
Right. And then I will just say, yes, we will be doing this very similar next week. So you will get that. And then the other thing that we can get feedback is that maybe we need to do 2.5 hours instead of 2. I mean, I know I don't want to commit Lou or Edwin to something, what their schedule is, but that's one of the adjustments that we possibly could make, is the length, to adjust that slightly. Great. Pavel.
I hope I will not take too much time, but first, can you hear me well?
Yes.
So I think the way we did the practice, we over exaggerated it, and it was complete anarchy.
Okay.
And I think for some people this be a traumatic experience, and it will lower their confidence. I had the experience where I was doing a role play for motivational interviewing, and the person in front of me was playing a 16-year-old girl that she just blasted in front of me, and it was traumatic experience to me. And I was like, maybe I'm not good for this. I don't want to do it. And then I had to remind myself was that this was not a real person. A real person may not behave in this way. And if it does, it will rarely happen. So I had to kind of continue, kind of to try to forget about it. So I think for future facilitators, we should be more gentle with the interruptions, not to allow this kind of overblown way of interrupting people. And yeah, basically that's my main point. Because in the end of the day, these people will be ordinary facilitators. Like they will, the chances of this happening in real life, it's highly unlikely, and it can do more damage than benefit. But it can be of benefit if it's done in a much gentle way. That's just my take on it. Thank you.
Okay. I just had a little internet glitch, so I'm going to ask Lou, maybe he can reflect. But one of the things that I did hear you say is like when you feel like I'm not ready for it, I would just encourage, you're the decision maker there, but I would encourage you to say, I need more time. I need more time, or I need more support. Because, you know.
Well, and I will add, so we discussed this also in our circle before we came back into the main circle. And I think one of the things, and I kind of mentioned this in the big meeting, but it wasn't clear enough. So I do think that when we're doing this exercise, when we're switching and somebody is taking on the facilitation, that they could say whether they want any difficulty and how much. And that way they have the person has some control over how it goes when it's their turn. So maybe that's something we can do.
Yeah,
that might be something to try.
Sounds like a great suggestion. Okay. And again, I apologize. I was kind of, Pavel, do you feel heard there? You said what you needed to say?
I feel fully heard, and I think Lou's idea is very good, because you can judge yourself where you're at, and you can choose the challenges and how much, to what extent. I think that's very nice.
Great.
Thank you.
Great. Dean?
I would like to apologise to my fellow roommates. I did get carried away at one point, and yes, it was a bit unruly. At least I was. But I must say, if you want to become a facilitator of an empathy circle, it would help if you'd been to a few facility circles in other different environments to actually see the different flavors that are involved in facilitation. Because the idea that Lou introduced of actually maybe saying like how much intensity they want to undertake is a valid statement, but you should be ready and competent in order to take on the role of facilitation before you step up to the plate. And I'm using a cultural idiom again. I'm full of them all the time. It's my biggest problem. Or else you're going to drop the ball, and then you're going to make it even worse for yourself and make it even harder to come back to the plate to take another shot. But it's an important thing to do the role plays, because although they may not happen regularly, it's important to be preloaded with the type of responses you can make. Because if you don't test yourself, how will you know how you're going to respond? Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dean. Anish.
Thank you so much. First, I want to start by saying, Edwin, please don't post these videos. I mean, you can post the videos there. It was hilarious the way things were. So, yeah, please post the videos. It is gonna lighten up. I really enjoyed the time in the small circle because one of the things I'm a facilitator in real life and I facilitate different things. And one of the things I've learned is the more I practice, the more I put myself in difficult situation in a safe environment, which it was. I knew that the other 3 people were there to support me. And I knew that there was also a sense of care. They were able to sense it, if I'm able to take it or not take it. And there was this genuine care and consideration for each other. So it was much more safer environment to push each other than in real life. And I've been in both. So I felt a lot of safety and comfort in pushing myself and pushing others in the space. And I really like what Pavel says, that maybe there was one element that could have been where the person who takes up the role says, it's my challenge by my choice. So, hey, for my role, I would like to take up this particular aspect of conflict or facilitation. And one thing that I always like to think about levels. I mean, that's how my brain works, maybe because I'm looking at designing. So when I look at level of complexities, I see there could have been a common misunderstanding with the process. So we are doing complexity of misunderstanding the process. The second was skill itself, what we are doing. And the third is conflict. And there could be many other skills. So maybe if there is some, and I love the list by Lou, maybe if there is a categorization of, hey, this is what I would like to practice. So I want to practice conflict in a group with an unruly behavior. And that's what I want to do for the next few minutes. Then the participants also know what to bring in and how much to bring in. So maybe that's just one input that I would like to bring in here in terms of making the process. And the last thing is, I would love to practice with any of you. I love practicing. That's what I enjoy doing. If any of you outside, not putting pressure on Bill, Edwin, and Lou, feel confident to practice this in some other time, we can do that. We can record ourselves and we can always show it to Bill, Edwin, and Lou for feedback. So just thinking of different strategies, and I'd like to pause.
Great. Excellent suggestions. Thank you, Anish. Okay, Aoife?
Yeah, it was very funny. So my main thing was trying to not laugh constantly. The part I found difficult was when I was being disruptive and interrupting. And interrupting. It was I could feel like my heart was pounding, and I noticed a lot of people interrupt me a lot like that. So it's like, it's just fascinating. But I think, yeah, that's a point, that conflict is just one difficulty. I mean, there's loads of other difficulties that can come along. I was in one circle where I really wanted to start laughing, and I found that really difficult. And I wasn't facilitating, but it was just so funny how one person was saying something so profound and the person reflecting back was turning it into the most deadpan kind of, it was hilarious. But, so I don't know, it's a kind of a balance between, like, the conflict is one thing, and then people can go into really deep kind of grief and go on and on. Like, I've been in that too. So, and then it's really difficult to interrupt someone when they're deeply sharing their grief. So, it's a mixed bag of stuff, of skills. And can I just say one thing on a more kind of spiritual level, that we all have our individual karma. So, you're going to get in the groups that you're going to get in, that you're meant to be in, and the shit's going to come up that you're meant to look at. So that's a gift, and I've been in some very, very painful ones, and I'm so grateful for that. So you'll rise to meet it, whatever it is.
Thank you, Aoife. Max? Max is frozen. Max, can you hear us? Okay. We'll see if Max, maybe I'll reach out to him in chat. Edwin.
Yeah, I love hearing the training design ideas, and I think that can be helpful too, kind of being able to dial up the difficulty level. So doing some circles where you just facilitate and everything's really, there's no challenges. You can kind of ask for one challenge or two challenge. And instead of having that chart, that sounds like I really love that idea. So you can kind of ease into it Our group is very playful, so everybody, you know, we're just having a lot of fun. It was fun to sort of vent the alter ego, our alter egos, you know, our you know, that part maybe we keep you know, hidden or something like that. You know, so it was kind of fun to be able to vent that. And I gave Samantha, I think, a hard time with, I was on the verge of suicide, you know. So what do you do with someone who's saying, I'm going to kill myself? So anyway, just, you know, playing with those ideas, that was a lot of fun. Yeah. And then the main thing of, you know, the empathy, having an empathic as a facilitator, having an empathic mindset, and then a lot of empathy with whatever comes up. It seems is really kind of like the core response to everything. Is the first step. Yeah. So that's it.
Okay. And then I'm going to call on Lou. I just want to acknowledge the time. Is everybody good for another 5 or 10 minutes? Is that okay with people? Okay, great. Sorry, Lou?
Yeah, so I'm so grateful to hear all the feedback. And I want to acknowledge, so I think an element that Anish suggested adding to what I had described was that a person might not only pick like the level of, whether they want any difficulty or level of difficulty, but also was there a particular area of facilitation that they wanted to practice, like a specific type of content or type of situation. So I think that's a nice element. But I also want to say again that like that particular kind of thing is exactly the kind of thing that the Friday Facilitator Circle is for, where people can come and say, you know, I had a situation like this and I'm not sure how to respond to it, or I'm going to be facilitating circles, and like when I look at the list of common situations, this is the one that frightens me the most. Can I try this one? Can someone do it with me? So I welcome people to come on Fridays and do that kind of thing. Yeah, Samantha.
So like the facilitator support group, could you actually use that as a avenue to practice? Like, let's say, oh, I want to facilitate circles on this particular topic. Can we just try it now with me as the facilitator? Like, is that an appropriate use of that space?
I'm not saying so much practice a particular kind of content for the circle, but I would say that if there's a particular facilitator challenge that you're worried about, we could try that as a role play. We could try role playing that and see, and you could practice responding to it as a facilitator.
I also noticed Pavel had his hand up before, so I don't know if he...
Okay, I didn't see that.
Right.
It's pretty dark.
Right, but I also want to recognize Max was out and now he's back. So Max?
Yeah, sorry, my connection is really bad right now. Yeah, just really quick, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really stressful, but it was really fun. I learned the importance of sticking to the rules and the pitfalls of not doing that. I also realized this whole exercise is a bit overblown, of course, but most empathy circles are not going to be like that and will be much more normal. And knowing that, I feel a lot less anxious about the circles I'm going to facilitate in the future. So that exercise helped me a lot. So yeah, thank you. Thank you a lot.
Thanks, Max. I just wanted to say that, you know, on Friday we do have the facilitators meeting, but before that we do have an empathy circle. So we do need facilitators. So we're talking about now, the subject is what elements would you like to include in a culture of empathy? So, and then on Saturday, we've been working with XR, Extinction Rebellion, about their demands and principles. So those are excellent places to just, you know, you're going to get like a normal circle there, most likely. And again, at any particular time, you could facilitate and then ask any one of us, Edwin, myself, Lou, or even one of your classroom participants to, you know, co-facilitate with you. So the challenge shouldn't be as great, and you got a kind of a sense of leavening and build that skill. And I know that Pavel had something to say before we left.
Thank you, Bill. On Sam's question, when do you intervene? And I would like Lou's thoughts on that. So let's say a small debate occurs and let's say 3 people start speaking. As a facilitator, these are just my thoughts. You don't want to interfere as fast as you can. You can wait just for a bit, so people will have like few exchanges, and then where there's like a moment of silence for a bit, then you interfere. Because if you try to interfere in the beginning, the argument will be too heat up that people will just not listen to you. I don't know. I wonder what Lou thinks on this type of.
Well, so Sam asked before about things that go on in the circle and how often does a facilitator respond to something that isn't exactly the way it's supposed to be. And I think there is a careful balancing there. You know, if you don't want to respond to everything, because then you're like controlling, people get a sense they're being very controlled, and you really don't want that. But I would say that it sounds like the situation you're describing, Pavel, which is, you know, three people start to get into an argument. So someone's saying something and two other people start responding to it when it's not their turn to speak. I as a facilitator, I pretty much interrupt that immediately. I mean, I would say I might wait till they finish their sentence, but it depends on how hot the exchange is, and whether I think someone's going to say something that's going to be really triggering. I mean, the more I think it's going to create conflict in the circle, the faster I would be to interrupt it. Yeah, so I think those are the criterion that I would use.
Thank you, Lou. I find this very helpful, especially the part where you say, like, depending on how much conflict it can arise from it. If it's something innocent, kind of, you can let it slip. And
yeah, I mean, I would assume if you've described the circle and people have started to participate in it, and then a situation happens where two people are responding to another person, something pretty hot's going on, because people are not observing the rules of the circle. They're charged enough that they are responding, you know, when they're really not supposed to be. So I'm guessing that would be a pretty charged situation.
Thank you, Lou.
I think Sam had her finger up, and then.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see.
Yeah, I'll just be real quick. I just wanted to say that, like, I felt like I was interrupting constantly, but only because everybody was like trying to add those challenges. So it was like happening all the time, you know. But I imagine in an actual empathy circle, they wouldn't happen so close together. So it wouldn't seem like I was interrupting all the time, you know? So like, but at the same time, I do want to, like, how do you interrupt? How do you do it gently? How do you, you know, there's still things like that. But I just wanted to put that out there. Like, that's also why it was like that.
Edwin.
Yeah, when in terms of that, I try to keep the structure, because if somebody's speaking and other people are starting to argue, it's their turn being taken. So I try to bring it back and always say, hey, you'll have a chance to speak as soon as it's, you know, your turn. We want to fully hear whatever you have to say. So that's the one point. The other thing is I want to be sure to put this in the chat. There's Samantha's leading a group on doing empathy circles on racism, and we have a call tomorrow for anyone that wants to sort of, it's a team building. So it's a way to, you know, meet with others who want to build a team to, you know, to kind of produce or create these circles. So just wanted to put that in before we ended.
Great. So I have a question. I'm kind of typing and I'm multitasking. So the question is the facilitator group open for all? Yes, it is, but the subject is facilitation. So it's about, I had a problem with facilitation, I want to do that. It's not like, you know, my car broke down. Okay. All right. I hope that does. Okay. Any last questions?
And our next meeting is Thursday, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And we will be doing this again. Feel free to reach out to us. I know that you guys have started connecting together. I think that's great. And by all means, challenge each other online. Lou, any last words?
No, this was really fun, and thank you all for your participation. And I'm just excited to hear all of you and to see all of you and to see how what you're learning, what you're getting out of this. And thank you for your feedback. Really appreciate your feedback on how this is working and how it could improve.
Great. Edwin, any last thoughts? No, we're good. All right. Well, I will turn you out into the day or night, wherever you are in the world. And hopefully, you know, you won't act out too badly.
Aoife, was that a say bye, or did you want to
No,
say something?
No, oh, I'm sorry. Aoife.
Oh no, I was saying goodbye, but
Oh, okay,
yeah.
just okay, good.
All right. See you on Thursday, everybody. Have a great couple of days.
Bye.
Hey, bye-bye. Have a good night.